do you think the soccer disqualification affected the school?
I feel like a lot of people, I don't know. It hurt us, the players, because we all wanted to, win state cup. We were all working for something, and they just took that away from us, and hurt the seniors a lot. And
well, how did it affect you personally?
The same thing as I said, because it was a goal. Everyone wanted to win the state cup and playoffs. And it hurt us because some person took that away.
How do you think the soccer disqualification affected the school?
I was out of the loop on that. Let me just say that. I can't say.
Okay. So it didn't have any effect on you personally?
Not me personally. Although, I feel bad for students who work very hard and then something happens that not that they can be affected by. So in that respect, yeah, I feel bad. But like I said, at that point of the school year, I wasn't. I had some other issues, so I wasn't really fully focused on what was going on in school.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and then what role does emotion play in our perception of history?
What role does emotion play in our perception of history? As emotions change from time to time, emotions can change really, really quick. So I think how you perceive something might have happened in the past could change within the day, depending on how you were feeling. If it was maybe something bad. I'm thinking about like the immigrant issue right now that the Trump thing is bringing up. That I think that's a very emotional issue, and people are reacting to it emotionally and might not have acted that way 4 or 5 weeks ago when they weren't feeling that same way. So, yeah, I think it depends on how. I definitely think it has an effect on how you're feeling that day. It has an effect on how you view things in history.
So wait. So would you say that you would have an emotional connection to the disqualification of the soccer team?
I personally would not.
And do you think that affects your perception of that historic event at Campbell?
I think if I were more invested, I don't know anybody on the soccer team. I don't know any of the kids who were on the soccer team. I think had it been maybe the swimming team or something like that, where I know that some of the swimming kids, I might have been more invested in it and known more about it, and that might have affected me more. But it was an issue that that didn't touch me.
Thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your time, Brittany. We have a couple questions for you. The first one is, how did the lacrosse team perform last year?
Perform?
Yes.
They definitely did better than years past. I feel like they were more dedicated to the sport and they put more time and effort into practice and games.
How do you feel about them having their best season? How does that make you feel?
I'm proud of them for one, and I like seeing the progress that they've made since we started the lacrosse team, and I feel like they're only going to get better.
Okay. And then the final question that we have here is, what role does emotion play in our perception of history? If you'd like to read the question.
I feel like if you're emotionally attached to something, you have a different opinion or a different outlook of how history happened or how it played out than if you just didn't know anything about it.
thank you for your time. Okay, so we're going to ask you a couple questions. So the first question here is, how did the lacrosse team perform last year?
Horrible.
No, we're not talking.
Actually, Keegan,
I honestly don't know how the lacrosse team performed last year. I did not go to any of the any of the games.
Awesome, thank you. The second question is, how do you feel about them having their best season ever?
It's great for them.
Okay, and the final question is, what role does emotion play in our perception of history?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
Give it your best shot.
What's something that someone else said? I don't know what to answer that with.
Okay, that's good enough.
All right, Preston. How did the tennis team perform last year?
The tennis team performed really well. Like, this was like the first time in, I guess, since 1970, I believe, that we made it to the state playoffs because we came second in the region behind the East Toledo.
Yeah. How do you feel about tennis making the playoffs last year?
I feel really happy. It's never been done before or in a long time. And I contributed to history. I'm Martin Luther King.
And also, what role does emotion play in our perception of history?
What role does emotion play in our perception of history? I guess it plays a big role because it depends on how you feel about things, how you can see it. Like, for example, if you hate Hitler, then you'll see it as a bad thing. If you support Hitler, will see it as a good thing. So it's all about perception. Your emotion does affect your perception of history. Thank you. Put me on with the camera lady.
Now we're just going to ask you a couple questions and then answer as honestly and as much as you want. The first question is, how did the tennis team perform last year?
I wouldn't know because I didn't go to any of the games.
Okay. How do you feel about tennis making the playoffs last year?
I didn't even know they made the playoffs.
Thank you. And finally, our final question is, what role does emotion play in our perception of history? Go ahead, hear the question, take it.
What role does emotion play in our perception of history? I guess it plays like a large role because, like, you know, your emotion is how you feel about something. If you feel bad about something, you're gonna act upon that in that way. So it plays a large role.
All right. How did the tennis team perform last year?
Last year was the best year that the tennis team has had in the past 2 decades. We hosted a state playoff match against Hillgrove, and we came in second in the region.
How do you feel about the tennis team making the playoffs last year?
I feel great about it because I'm really proud of all of my guys, and we got the school excited about tennis. We had large crowds out there to watch everybody play. It was a lot of fun. We were disappointed that we didn't win the region and that we didn't do better in playoffs or in the state playoffs, but overall it was a really good season, and it was a good learning experience for all the guys because we're still young.
Cool. All right, and then what role do you think emotion plays in our perception of history?
That's a little different. Give me this. What? I'm going to pause it. Well, I think that, like, for instance, say, we might view, like, a war and say, oh, we shouldn't have ever done that because it's wrong to kill somebody, you know? But hindsight's 20/20, and when you have to look at, like, how everybody else viewed what was going on. You have to look at context. And so emotion often blinds, like, reality because it's, like, how you feel. And how you feel doesn't really mean anything. It's like, what is reality? That's my opinion anyways.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. New. Cool. What role does emotion play in our perception of history?
Emotion is everything about our perception. The way we feel dictates how we see things. And I think that it's hard for people to kind of wipe out the emotion and look at just straight facts. So definitely emotion is perception, if you ask me.
All right, thank you for your time. Okay, so the question here that we would like to ask you is, what role does emotion play in our perception of history? And it's right there at the top if you'd like to read it.
what role does emotion play in our perception of history? I don't know. Oh gosh, I guess that the way we not sure I understand the question. In our interpretation of the way that we see events is perhaps colored by the emotions that we have at the time, or the emotions that are evoked by the events in history. Can you answer?
Both. There's any way you interpret the question.
Oh.
This is a theory of knowledge question, so it's very open-ended.
It seems to me that history evokes emotion, that we respond to the events of history and that they evoke emotion. And so we see, for instance, we learn about slavery or things that happened in the past, and we react to that, and with pity, with guilt, with whatever, that we have emotions that are caused by the events that we see. Then perhaps those emotions, we apply them to other events that occur, so that we tend to relate or connect those events. I don't know, I'm not making much sense. But I think that perhaps that first the historical event comes first, then we react, and then perhaps we apply those emotions to interpret others that might come later, or that we might learn about later. We can say, oh, okay, this is just like a slavery in the United States. The caste system in India is like that. So we apply the emotions that we feel toward slavery in the United States to the caste system in India.
Thank you.
Find your dreams come true, and I wonder if you